Okay, good morning. Welcome to day number 5. Yesterday was a little bit of a break day because we just sat and did a lot of arm stretching and upper body and thoracic spine and twists and really yummy stuff. But today's going to be a little bit more intense because yesterday was our break day. So we're going to get after it today. It's still going to be less than 30 minutes. And disclaimer as always, if there is noise, I am sorry. I will try to edit it out. I think that's it. So let's get going. Okay, so we're actually going to start standing today. So go ahead and stand at the front of your mat. Bring your feet together, toes and heels. And then we're just going to take a big inhale overhead and interlace your fingers. And as you exhale, press your palms to the sky or to the ceiling and really go into a full body stretch. And then slowly start to come up onto your tippy toes, stretching all the way up. And then go ahead and release your hands and start to bend your knees. Bringing your hands down to the ground, bending your knees, bending, bending, bending. And then come up as high as you can on your tippy toes. And then bow your head down to your knees. And we're going to do that again. So go ahead, coming all the way back up, swooping your arms up into that big stand. Interlace your fingers, press your palms to the ceiling. Tippy toes, big body, morning stretch. And release your hands. Maybe try to stay on your tippy toes as you bend the knees, bend the knees. Bend the knees all the way down, touching the ground. And then come up even more on your tippy toes as you bow your head. And let's do it one more time. Drop your heels down. Straighten out your legs, standing all the way back up. Swoop the arms up with a big inhale. Last time. Interlace your fingers. Press your palms to the ceiling. Tippy toes, balance, core tight, legs engaged. And exhale as you release your hands. Start bending the knees. Ooh. Bringing your hands to the ground. And then tippiest of tippy toes. And then bow your head down to the ground. Or to your knees. Beautiful. And from here, just try to bring your heels down to the ground. They're not going to make it there quite yet. And then from here, we're going to start to straighten out the legs. Keep your hands and your upper body towards the ground. So we're in a forward fold. And then just straighten your legs as much as you can while keeping your hands on the ground. So maybe you have a little bend like me. That's totally fine. We're just now warming up, so don't worry. And let's go ahead. We're going to step the left foot back into a lunge. Chest proud and breathe. And on your next exhale, we're going to step the back foot front again. So step up, fold, keep that small bend in your knees. And then same thing on the other side. We're going to take the right foot back into the lunge and breathe here for a second. Breathing. And on your next exhale, we're going to step that back foot to meet the front and fold. Beautiful. And you can just keep that bend in your knees. Grab each elbow and let your head kind of hang here like a rag doll, really allowing the back side of your legs to open up. Letting your head fall between your arms. Keeping your eyes open so you don't topple over. And go ahead, release your hands back down to the ground, stepping both feet back into a downward dog. First one, of the day. So go ahead, pressing both heels down to the ground, one at a time, bending into one knee and straightening out the other. And breathing. Remember to make sure that your fingers are super wide, shoulder width apart, feet are hip width apart. And let's shift our weight forward with our next inhale into that plank position. And then drop your knees down to the ground. Hug your elbows in, core tight as you slowly lower chaturanga. And then inhale, low cobra. And remember, pinch your shoulder blades together. If you bring your hands up off the ground, you should stay in the same spot. Try to get your elbows to touch behind your back. And then exhale, first onto the knees, tuck your toes under, back into that downward dog. And breathe, pressing down one heel and then the other. And let's go ahead and go again. Shift our weight forward into that high plank position. And either choose the modification, dropping your knees, or tuck your elbows in and slowly lower here, chaturanga. And then inhale, upward facing dog or low cobra, whichever one you choose. Pinching your shoulder blades, engaging your legs if you're in that upward dog. And then exhale, downward facing dog. Beautiful. Now let's go ahead, walking our feet up to our hands one at a time until we're back into that forward fold. And exhale all the way out as you fold all the way down. And then inhale, swoop your arms up. And exhale, hands at heart center, Samasthiti. Okay, so we're a little bit warmed up. Our blood's pumping a little. And so I'm going to show you a new sun salutation today. And it's a fun one. So make sure your toes and your heels are together. And then when we come down into Skandasana, chair pose, we're going to squeeze our knees together. So as we inhale, swoop the arms down, just graze the ground. And then bringing your arms up, staying in this little squat. This is Skandasana. Chair pose. We're going to stay here for 1, 2, 3, 4, one more, and 5. Release. Forward fold. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, fold. Place your hands onto the ground. Step both feet back into a plank and either release here or on your knees, chaturanga. And then inhale, upward facing dog or low cobra. And then exhale, downward facing dog. Beautiful. Breathing here for a moment. And we're going to practice the tippy toes, core, core, core. So come up onto your tippy toes. Bend the left knee. Shift your weight into a plank using your core. Core, knee to nose, core. And place that left foot in between the hands. Remember, it's just practice. If you're not there yet, just keep practicing it and you will be eventually. From here, we're going to drop our back heel down to the ground. And then we're going to inhale our arms up into a warrior 1. Now, if this is at all painful on your knee or just feels like you can't get your hips straight as your back leg is there, train track your feet a little bit so they don't have to be right behind each other. Move them side by side and maybe try to move your big toe to the upper corner of the mat and your heel to the lower back corner of the mat. And then bring your hips forward, bend into that knee, and arms are up. This is warrior 1. Opening up that hip. Try to get all edges of your back foot onto the ground. So if you're coming up with the right sides coming off the ground, try to rotate them back on. And exhale as you fold, bringing your hands down to the ground, coming up into that high lunge on that back foot, and then stepping that foot forward as you fold. Exhale. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, fold. Inhale, swoop the arms up into Utkatasana, chair pose. Squeeze your knees together, squeeze your ankles together, chest up. For 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Release, hands to heart center. Breathe. We're going to do the same thing on the other side, but just one more time before we move on, so don't worry. Okay, let's go ahead. Swoop the arms down to the ground, bend the knees, Utkatasana, chair pose, squeeze the knees, squeeze the ankles, looking up in front of us. For 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Release, fold, exhale. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, fold. Placing your hands onto the ground, step back into that plank position. And take a breath here. Either lower down your knees or full expression, chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog or low cobra. Engage the legs. Exhale, downward facing dog. And breathe. Spread your fingers nice and wide. All right, we're going to do that practice again. So tippy toes of both feet. Bend that right knee. Bringing it into a plank position. Core, knee to nose. Knee to nose. Knee to nose. Place that foot down in between your hands. Into our lunge. We're going to go up into our warrior 1. So drop that back foot on the ground. And then we're going to inhale our arms up, facing in front of us. Remember, you can track your feet a little bit and try to get the toes towards the upper corner of the mat, heel towards the further back corner of the mat. And then get down into that knee bend in the front. Arms are up. And breathing. Beautiful. And on your next exhale, release your hands down to the ground. And then inhale and exhale. Step that back foot to front, fold. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, fold. All right, Utkatasana, squeeze your knees, squeeze your ankles. Inhale, sit your butt down, chest comes up. Utkatasana, chair pose. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Exhale, hands to heart center. Close your eyes. Breathing in and out through the nose. Letting your heart rate come down a little bit here. Beautiful. And from here, let's go ahead. Inhale the arms all the way up. Exhale, fold. Placing your hands onto the ground. Stepping both feet back into that downward dog. And go ahead, bringing both knees down to the ground nice and wide. Untuck your toes so the tops of the feet are on the mat and sit your hips back into that child's pose. And breathe. Take an inhale and exhale. Forehead on the mat. Arms engaged. Stretched out as far away from you as possible. Fingertips nice and wide. Just notice how this space feels a little bit different maybe from how it felt yesterday or the day before, and how every day it might be growing just a little bit. And keep breathing. Beautiful. Let's go ahead, coming up into that tabletop position, knees together. Or not together, hip width apart. Untuck your toes, press your hips back over your heels and pressing back into another downward dog. We're strengthening our arms with every downward dog we do. Just breathing. And we're going to practice one more time of bringing the feet in between our hands, because I can't say it enough, it takes practice. So let's go ahead, tippy toes of both feet, and then bend the left knee, core tight as you shift your weight into a plank, knee to nose, place that foot between your hands. And breathe. And from here, let's go ahead and move into a Skandasana. So remember from yesterday, side lunge. Yesterday or the day before, I think, are staples. Side lunge. Hands can be on the ground if you need to, just making sure the knee goes out, never in. We never want to see that. Knee goes out, opening up hips. And straighten that leg. Hands on the hips here. And then we're going to tilt our pelvis, remember. So feet a little bit pigeon-toed. And then tilt your pelvis, leading with your chest down to the ground. As you exhale, maybe placing your hands on the ground. With every exhale, allowing yourself to fold a little more. Breathe. And pressing back up until your arms are straight. Placing your hands onto your hips. And inhale, coming up the same way we went down. Hinging all the way back up. Bringing your feet back to normal, going towards the outside of the mat. And then coming down into Skandasana on the right side. And you know, your Skandasana can be up here, it can be here, it can be way down here. Wherever you are, totally fine. Just make sure that knee goes out. Beautiful. Let's go ahead, windmill our arms over that right foot into that lunge position. Breathing here. And pressing back into that downward dog. Beautiful. And same thing on the other side. Here we go. Tippy toes of both feet. Keep the left foot where it is this time. The right foot knee bends as you shift to that plank, core tight, knee to nose, knee to nose, knee to nose. And place that foot down into that lunge. Breathing here for a second. And shifting over into our Skandasana. Feet towards the side of the room, the side of the mat. Pressing into that knee of the one that's bent. Allowing that inner thigh to open up on that straight leg. And pressing up into that wide-legged stance. Feet parallel to each other, so pigeon-toed. And then hands on the hips, tilting the pelvis. Exhaling, folding down. Placing your hands on the ground. Breathe. With every exhale, dropping just a little bit more down to the ground. Beautiful. And then inhale, pressing up. There we go. To straight arms. Putting the hands on the hips. And then pivoting all the way up, tilting all the way into our back into that stand. And then go ahead, adjust your feet so they're facing the corners of the mat again. And then going down into Skandasana on the left side. Nice. And breathe. And adjust that foot, windmill the arms over that left foot into that lunge position. Bringing the back foot into the balls of the feet. Breathe here for a moment. And press the ground away. Back into that downward dog. Go ahead, release your knees nice and wide, the distance of the mat. Untuck your toes, big toes together. Sit your hips back over your heels, really extending your arms all the way out, and then forehead to the ground. And breathe. Just take a moment here, noticing how your hips feel, how your heart rate feels, how your arms feel. Just breathing in and out through the nose. And remember, don't pass judgment on anything that you feel. The best advice I ever got is to notice something and say, isn't that interesting? So if your hips feel tight, instead of thinking, gosh dang it, my hips feel tight, instead think, isn't that interesting? Inhale and exhale. Go ahead, slowly walking your hands all the way back up until you're seated on your heels. And then take a big inhale up with your arms. And exhale, hands to heart center, Samasthiti. And smile. Don't forget to smile. Okay, that's it today, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Okay, and that's it for today. We went over Utkatasana, chair pose. We tried a different sun salutation. What else did we do? We learned Warrior 1, which is exciting. And you got my stripe pants, like I promised. I love stripes. Yeah, tomorrow, I think we're going to do some Warrior 2 action, maybe a different sun salutation. And I'm just trying to give you guys as much variety as possible before the last 2 weeks of these 30 days where it's going to be a little bit more intense maybe. This first 2 weeks are more learning and building up the strength in our downward dogs and our chaturangas and everything. So I will see you tomorrow for day number 6. And I think that's it. Have a good day.